Alright, what's good, guys? So it is hot as balls here today. It's fucking getting into the 25-degree days. Nice and sunny. The last week, what I've been up to is I started cutting the old cab up that came off of that chassis. It was full of rust, as you've seen. That's why we've done the cab swap to start with, and I needed to I've got to get rid of all this shit. So the easiest way to do that is minimalise it, cut the cab up, might keep a couple of the B pillars, those sort of sections, and we're going to keep the diffs and steering box, leaf springs. A lot of the running gear I'll keep, but and things like the brake cylinder, clutch cylinder, keep all those, but scrap the rest, get rid of it. Fucking no use hanging on to rusty shit. So as you've seen a couple of videos ago, maybe last video, I got this thing running and then short circuited the ignition module and no start. So I went and brought points and a condenser, put it all together and still couldn't get it to start. But I had this bolt here running through there, I had a negative on there, and then the points hooked on the inside there, and I had the condenser on the outside of it on that side. Looked up quite a few wiring diagrams of how to wire up coils and that, and I've done the wiring on the TEA20 Fergie tractor as well, and I wired all the coil up on that, and I mean, it's a piece of piss. All you need is a positive and negative. So from what I understand is positive goes to positive on the coil, negative goes to the points. Fuck, that's it. That's all you need to do. So I'm not sure why I'm not getting spark, but one theory I do have is that because this had an electronic ignition module in it before, it had two wires running through this little hole, so I don't have a rubber grommet to seal off the earth from leaking to earth. So what I'm going to do is try and hook this wire off the points to my negative off the coil, even though that wire's red. But I'm going to do it without it grounding to earth, because I think I might be losing spark through to the, the spark might be actually jumping back into the whole earth of the truck. So to do that without having the rubber grommet and the right little bolt that goes through the distributor, I'm probably literally just going to cut the end of this off and then run this wire through that hole down in there, solder it on, and then hopefully we'll give it a crank and hopefully it'll start, because I don't really want to spend $400 on that replacement electronic ignition module. I'd rather just spend the 30 and put points back in it, So we'll cut that wire off now, get the soldering iron out, and fingers crossed. Alright, it's all soldered together, the points to this wire here that's going to go to the negative on the coil. So I said the plan there, hopefully it now won't be earthing out and losing the spark that should be going through to the points. So now I've just got to put our rotor on, distributor cap, and throw some terminals on the battery, and fingers crossed. Alright, well, I've got the coil's definitely working. I'm definitely getting spark now out of the coil. For some reason it's not getting to all four cylinders though. It's really running like a bit of a pig. I haven't fucked anything up with the distributor, so the distributor cap only goes on one way, the rotor only goes on one way. It's all pretty straightforward, and I haven't changed anything since the last time it was running on four cylinders, so I'll check the plugs and leads and crank it again. Yep. So I got spark on the first cylinder. Yeah, number 2. Yep.
Ready?
Yep. Go. Yep. Right, I got the third cylinder out now, holding it on ground.
Ready?
Crank it. Yep. Oh wait, go crank again. Yeah, stop. Alright, that one's sparking. So it's definitely the same story across all of them. They're all sparking. I haven't got to the fourth one yet, but I imagine it's very much the same as the rest of them. So probably looking like an idiot here because the whole time it's probably just fucking running out of gas. But we'll try the 4-cylinder anyway and see how that spark plug's playing up. Alright, 4th spark plug out and on earth, crank it. Alright, so I've just thrown about 10 to 15 litres worth of petrol in this thing. Now I'm going to hook the battery terminals back up, crank it over, and hopefully have better luck than we did a moment ago. Alright, well, I've had to give up on this for a while. The battery is going dead, so got that on charge. I'm really starting to get to be at my wit's end, so it looks like I'm going to probably have to fork out the 400 and buy that electronic ignition module. Either that or the coil's packing up, but it seems weird because I know that coil works fine, you know, when this truck was running. It works sweet as. And now I've got the points all insulated, so the points aren't earthed, well, the wiring isn't earthing out anymore, even though it is an earth that runs through it. I've hooked the condenser into the circuit. I know it looks a bit rangy, but it's just the way we do it. And I've also, yeah, I've got that hooked into the negative to the points, and then also got a wire coming off it so I can hook the condenser to earth. And I've got a power constant straight to the coil, so I know my wiring's good. I know it looks like shit, but I know it's correct. But for some reason I'm still getting, well, I'm getting spark, but it does look like a weak spark, and it's kind of inconsistent. Like, I'm sitting there getting it cranked over, and I'm holding the spark plug on the earth or on the chassis on the block, and the spark plug's kind of, it'll be sparking to time, and then it'll kind of stop sparking with time, and then it'll go back again, and the whole time it doesn't really look like the strongest spark either. And I also touched the coil lead, and I got a zap off it, but it wasn't that bad. Like, normally you get a bit of, you fucking get a good whack off those. So yeah, there's certainly something up there. But yeah, like I said, the battery's going flat, so I'm gonna have to let that charge for the next day or so, and then come back with more ideas. So if anyone out there's got any ideas, throw it in the comments down below, because I can only fail for so long before I want to do something else. So I'm going to fill up a bucket with some car wash and give the ute a good scrub up. Alright, just cranked it off camera and fucking fired up. It was missing a little bit, but then she was away. I can hear a bit of arcing out. You might see it every now and again. It's not going to do it for me now. I can hear that spark jumping, but it seems to be running like a gem. Sweet, alright, so maybe because I sat there cranking for so long, or because the coil was trying to dissipate energy and it just got overloaded with heat and then started creating weak spark. I'm not sure, but that's starting up now with my wiring loom all in a complete shuffle. It's all in a mess, but I don't know if you can hear it, I just went tick again in the background, so I need to sort a few things out obviously, but fucking stoked. That's what you need to do, man. I've just washed the ute. So now Cliffy looks fucking sweet. Come back in here, crank the key, boom, she fired. Alright, so that's a relief. Good news. So it means I can probably stay away from spending $400 on that electronic ignition. Question now though, if I turn it off, will it start again? Sweet. Seems to be running like a champ. Which is finally some good fucking news, because this thing's been doing my head in a little bit lately. So alright, that's sweet. So I've just saved $400. I don't have to buy a replacement electronic ignition module because it's now running on the points in the condenser. So now that I know it's all running and how exactly this all needs to be wired up, and it does appear that the condenser certainly needs to be in there, otherwise it doesn't run. So it'll only run when that wire there is on the negative terminal, so it only runs when basically the condenser is actually earthed and it's also in the points earth circuit. So off camera I'll go ahead and start tidying this wiring up, bolt the condenser to something that's earthed, and basically just tidy this wiring back up so it's not quite as shit. And then now that it's starting and I've got it running, we can get back into it. The next thing to do is the interior. So I need to do a couple of welds, weld a bit of sheet metal over that hole down there. So I need to weld a patch over that rust hole, and I also need to weld that seat mount back down to the floor. It's starting to just sort of come a bit loose from the floor, and then we'll under seal it so it'll be all black with that rubber texture coating, the same sort of coating that we painted the truck with, but not grey. And then the seats can go back in it, we can tidy up the dashboard and take it for its first drive. So can't be too far away, sort of been slacking it a bit. Alright, that is starting like a trooper now. I've started it up a couple more times. I've just left it running for like 10 minutes. The radiator, like, it's gotten right nice and hot, so that radiator's cooking hot, so bang on. I know exactly what I've got to do now. I just need to come back off camera, like I said, wire it all up, and we're away. I even just had the positive on the other side of the resistor, so the coil was only getting the 5 volts, and it was running sweet. So I think it must have been something to do with when I was trying to run the resistor in the circuit a week or two ago. I had the electronic ignition module in there, which is the one that I short circuited in blue, but I think I might have been trying to run that on 5 volts, whereas that needed 12 and the coil wanted 5, so I sort of fucked it up a little bit like that. But the problem with running the coil on 12 volts is, like, if you touch it now, it's quite hot, so, and that's not really ideal. Whereas, yeah, if it's running on the 5 volts, it should be able to maintain a cooler operating temperature, and yeah, be sweet. So a bit of an update for you, and myself as well. Like, made a little bit of headway, even though it seems like we've gotten nowhere in the last couple of weeks. It's good to now have it running. I know I can save $400. I don't have to buy that ignition module, electronic ignition module. It's just going to run on points, and seems to be running sweet. So yeah, next step, do some wiring.